Ms. Yates, I want to start with you. You declined to support, to defend President Trump's executive order because you thought it was unconstitutional. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And you believe you believe that no reasonable argument could be made in its defense. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know that I would put it in that way, Senator. This was the analysis that we went through.
Okay. Let me stop you because I've got a whole bunch of questions.
Okay.
I just want to understand your thinking from my perspective.
Sure.
Did you believe then that there were reasonable arguments that could be made in its defense?
I believed that any argument that we would have to make in its defense would not be grounded in the truth. Because to make an argument in its defense, we would have to argue that the executive order had nothing to do with religion, that it was not done with an intent to discriminate against Muslims.
Okay.
And
So
based on a variety of factors.
You were looking at intent?
Yes, and I believe that that's the appropriate analysis. And in fact, that's been borne out in several court decisions since that time, that that's the appropriate analysis when you're doing a constitutional analysis. It's to look to see what are you trying to accomplish here.
Okay. Suppose instead of an executive order, this had been an act of Congress, would you have refused to defend it?
If it were the same act, yes.
Okay.
And in fact, the Department of Justice has done that in the past. For example, with DOMA,
Right.
the Defense of Marriage Act, when the Department of Justice refused to defend DOMA.
But that was a political decision, was it not?
Well, I wasn't at Main Justice at that time, so I can't speak to that, but that was another example of when DOJ did not defend the constitutionality of a statute in that sense.
But in your opinion, the executive order is unconstitutional.
I certainly was not convinced.
Constitutional or unconstitutional?
I was not convinced that it was constitutional. I believed that it was unconstitutional in the sense that there was no way in the world I could send folks in there to argue something that we didn't believe to be the truth.
So you believe it's unconstitutional?
Yes.
Okay.
Senate hearing featuring discussions on constitutional challenges, executive orders, and Russian election interference. This session is a masterclass in legal reasoning, ethical responsibility, and the evolving landscape of global politics. Let's jump in. First up, we have a deep dive into the legal intricacies surrounding executive orders. A key question emerges: when does an executive action cross the line into unconstitutionality? Witnesses detail the internal wrestling match of legal ethics, arguing whether defending an order aligns with the truth or violates constitutional principles. It's a powerful reminder of the Attorney General's duty to uphold the law above all else. This segment highlights the delicate balance of power between the branches of government. One witness underscores the DOJ's role in refusing to defend laws or orders they believe violate constitutional rights. It's a vivid example of how the legal system acts as a safeguard, questioning even the highest authority when necessary.